It was great.
What do they use to make the beer?
Malt, they only use malt, yeast, barley, and a very limited number of hops. Like, they import, like, which I was actually kind of shocked because every brewery is all about, like, every other brewery is all about, like, locally sourced this and locally sourced that.
No, this is unique.
Yeah. Everything is imported from Germany except for one thing. I can't remember which one it was. But everything but one is imported from Germany. And I didn't know there was a such thing as a lager tank and a regular tank. And a lager is the only style of beer that has its own specific tank designed for it. Yeah, because I asked him that.
Okay.
I asked him that. I said, is there such thing as like a stout tank or an IPA tank? He said, no. Most of those breweries that make the IPAs and the crazy and stuff like that, they'll use open fermentation.
What is that?
What it sounds like.
They don't put it in a vat.
It just sits there, I guess.
Una palangana.
Yeah.
Now I understand.
was fun.
Well, you got your tour.
Fine,
you gotta drink free beer.
I didn't realize that came with the tour. I was like,
and you landed a hat.
Yeah.
You're doing good.
Yeah. Can't wear that to work though. Why?
Yeah.
Because some people over there know that Red Oak is beer. Alcohol.
Oh. Well, you can wear it in September. When we go to the
Whitewater?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you need the news for? It's depressing. They're going to talk about the wildfire that destroyed that little town in Hawaii. They're going to talk about politics, which is a bunch of bullshit. They're gonna talk about COVID. We don't need to hear that shit.
You're wise beyond your years, Joe.
Yeah, they're not gonna talk about anything good. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, why is the news so negative? You know why? Because honestly, there's so much good in the world that it's expected. Like news is news because it's unusual. It's out of the ordinary, right? Like, yeah, shit that happens that doesn't make the news. Like a car accident happens, you get pretty screwed. Like Miss Naide's car accident didn't make the news, but some car accidents make the news. Yeah. Only things that are out of the ordinary, good or bad, make the news. And there's such a high bar for good that, yeah.
Oh, you know what, Joe?
What?
I did what I said I was going to do. I took me a shit. I left my shit in there.
Well, that's how you paid them back for my tour, huh? And how awesome you were. That's racist.
No, man, I had to take a shit. That's what's racist.
You couldn't have gone across the street and do that shit. Nah, I wasn't gonna make you do that.
I told you.
Yeah. That was fun. I don't think I've ever heard that last beer I had, the last thing I had was a beer called White Oak. I didn't know they made such a beer called White Oak.
How did it taste?
Probably the hoppy. It tasted like, honestly, it tasted like Red Oak with more hops in it. And it kind of clashed. It was kind of like somebody dumped an IPA in a glass of Red Oak.
Oh, okay. I hummingbird when I come here.
Yeah.
I don't need to try anything else. Everybody hummingbird.
There were some awesome people on that tour.
Yep.
There were veterans and love you, Daddy.
I love you too, son. I adore you.
Hey, Daddy.
Yes, son.
Why did it not feel that long when we were driving over here? Is it because I'm used to driving this corridor so much?
No, I think it's because we left from Lion Services.
What does that have to do with it?
We cut out 30 miles, that's why.
Oh,
Maybe not 30, but at least 20.
yeah. Honestly, like the beach. And 3 hours, 3.5 hours is kind of a long drive. Like, that doesn't feel that long, I guess. But if I were to drive to the beach on 74, it feels longer than driving the way we go, even if it's short.
You know what, Joe?
What? Like, that drive to Nashville will probably feel a lot longer than most drives do because I've never been over there. You know? And, you know, at some point, I'm trying to do research to figure out what county it's in and what point it's in. At some point, we're going to be driving across time zones, which you've done if you've driven but it's just,
It's just like walking from time to sorrow.
yeah, pretty much.
You say I did it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I always wanted to walk between two states or two countries.
Oh, that's where you wanted to go to Constantinople.
Yeah.
What's
I always
the name
wanted to
of
do that.
Istanbul.
Huh?
Istanbul.
Yeah. But then I looked on Wikipedia, you can't do that because none of those bridges that cross the Bosphorus Strait,
Yeah.
none of them have pedestrian infrastructure.
That doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't either because, most places in America weren't, they're...
Ataturk was running. He was strictly. He wasn't he did not push the Hitler. There's a word for it. Secular.
Oh.
Secular government. It was not a religious Islamic republic or any shit like that.
I really don't think it is now.
Well, this guy's been trying to push the Hitler. And he fucked the election. I mean, he stole the elections.
Me and Thomas were talking about that today, actually. Because Thomas was, when he was in Saudi Arabia, he was talking about Ramadan and how strict it is. And it was like, yeah, it's like their version of Lent. They have a fasting period just like we have ours. Except theirs is obviously different. But there's some countries like Jordan that are very secular. And you go to other countries like Iran, for example.
Hey, Joe.
Yeah?
If you, what did I have to tell you? It had to do with
About
I forgot. Maybe if I say that, I don't remember. You know what, Joe?
what, Daddy?
I love you. Can you tell me something, Joe?
What, Daddy?
Did you have a good time?
Very much so.
Okay, you know what, Joe?
What, Daddy?
I picked you up at 2. You know what time it is?
What?
7:12. Yep.
We've been at this for 5 hours.
And you wanted more.
I
No,
want
I gotta go sit outside. No, I gotta, you had your beer pretzel, you had your hamburger. I even asked them to put pepper jack cheese on
That was good too. I wanted to see the car. All I wanted was one more beer. I was gonna get that beer, close the tab, sit in the garden because I haven't sat there since 21, 2 years ago, and it was beautiful outside.
it. That sounds like that's
How?
no joke. But I am.
And I wanted my beer stein because we already had to go to the gift shop. And you almost didn't get that. I'd never even seen a beer stein, so that piqued my interest. They were giving away free ones. Probably won't even use that for beer. It'd probably be like a,
When you do that, you put it in the freezer, and you let it get cold, and then you pour your beer.
oh yeah. But obviously I'm not gonna drink no, well, how many ounces is a liter?
128.
make 16-ounce Red Oaks. I guess you could put
less.
huh?
Put less. And fill it out twice. Right?
Well, see, here's the thing. A Red Oak bottle is like 12 ounces. I guess I could do. I guess I could just put half a bottle and a half of Red Oak in and drink the other half out of the bottle. I guess you say eye-opening thing is about that tour. How different Red Oak and Cavendish are, yet they're competing neck and neck for my favorite beer. A draft Red Oak wins over Cowboy Water. A bottle Red Oak or a can Red Oak, that's almost a draw. I mean, that's a coin flip.
To me, is PJ and else. They got together.
I think Cowboy Water. I honestly think Cowboy Water is a little bit better for me than Paycheck, because Paycheck is quite bitter.
You know what I had that was wonderful, Joe?
What?
Bratwurst.
Those are good.
Huh?
Those are good.
Yeah.
But that burger was so good. It was well done though. You might not like it, but it was so good. It was like a char-grill burger.
Oh boy, that must have been a good burger if you say that.
Yeah.
So it's like the day you were shocked when I told you that the brisket at the fair was better than Midway.
Yeah.
You were in shock.
Yeah. I wanted to get you on video saying it. Because I thought you were going to walk that sucker back so quick.
Joey, I don't miss the truth.
I know, Daddy, but you know what? Sometimes when things are neck and neck, you have one and think, oh yeah, this is better than the other. And then it simmers down, and a cooler head prevails, and you're like, yeah, they're neck and neck again. And then you have the other one, and you say, oh yeah, this is better than it. The cycle just repeats. It's like, that happens with Red Oak and Cowboy Water for me. Cowboy Water is better than Red Oak to cross the Catawba River back to Charlotte, and then they're a tie. Red Oak is better than Cowboy Water. Once, because, at Red Oak I drink more than over there.
Alright, may I ask you a question?
What?
Can you push ahead past tomorrow? The boat ride to London?
Why?
What time do we have to get up?
Where?
Monday.
We need to be on the train around 8.
8 for a 10 o'clock appointment?
Yeah, because we're going to go eat.
Where?
Midnight Diner. Or if you want to go to Biddy and Bo's, but they don't have much food, and I got a big lesson, so I need to eat a good breakfast.
I don't have time to eat a good breakfast.
No, I want to go out. I want to check out the new Midnight Diner.
Yeah, we can do it in another location.
Why?
Because I feel bad not inviting Brad.
Daddy, no.
Okay, Joe.
No. It's only a block away. We already have to be there. It's a perfect time to go. take STS, I'm still on the roads of Charlotte where people like to pull out in front of every car they can. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? This is you know what I'm not used to?
What?
I let you today. I let you go up through the sidewalk and turn the left. And you got hung up and tell you what, it went right.
Yeah, you know what? Because I don't want to get my knee hit. So I went away from the table and went around the building and I found it. You know?
And then what sort of strategy you used when you were beside that lady? Sandra told me, oh, I showed her what the bathroom was.
Yeah, I went there. I listened for people. I have some directional hearing. I listened for people, turned towards them, and said, excuse me, can you help me? And she said yes. And I said, can you help me find the bathroom? She said, yeah. That was the other lady, not Sandra, because Sandra had her gloves on because she was about to clean the things. So, the black lady, Vicky, took me to the bathroom. I was in the truck bathroom because they were cleaning the big one that we usually go to.
Yeah.
I used the bathroom. I walked out of the bathroom, and Sandra walked me to the front of the store where I thought you would
You
be.
must have walked right in front of me because I went back to the bathroom. I was in 1 and 2 right there. So you must have walked right past me.
Oh.
And I pulled the door and didn't see you.
Huh?
I said, I pulled the U and I didn't see you.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. I wonder why.
Guess what happened today? I thought about you.
What?
I offered to get mommy some stuff from the store. And I had to look for potato soup. I was in front of the county thing and I could not find that potato soup. So, what did you think your father did? From somebody that I said, look, I apologize, but my blind son always tells me to look in front of my face. And that's where it would be.
It was in front of your freaking face, wasn't it?
It was not directly in front of my face, but let's say it was in front of my belly.
Oh.
At the height of my belly.
Oh, wow.
I enjoy somebody.
And it's still right in front of you. I've been laughing at you still.
Yeah, well, that's why I tell you things, because it's the truth.
Yeah.
What, you think I'm afraid of you laughing at me? No, I'm not Einstein. I do comprehend that shit.
I can laugh at everybody a lot in this world because I laugh at myself.
Yeah.
That's right. People were telling me I liked your jokes on the tour. Red Oak is, Jarvis was saying Red Oak is unique because they actually got to design their brewery space. They built it from the ground up. Most of them are warehouses.
Yeah.
And you know what makes Cavendish unique?
What?
That it wasn't a warehouse, it was a car dealership.
Oh.
That's why the acoustics in Cavendish, I know you might not notice this, but you notice how when you go to most breweries, there's a huge echo. Really, it's reverb, but we call it echo. Just I don't know why. But really, it's reverb. Like you know how reverb is like the stadium. You know how the stadium everything echoes. Okay, most breweries, including Red Oak, are like that. Cavendish sounds more like a like a regular restaurant. It sounds kind of like a, not like Yogi Bear's, because Yogi Bear's was almost like a recording studio. But like a Bojangles. Which I was correct. I knew there was going to be a bunch of reverb. That's why I wanted to be close to the tour guide, because I knew even if I was if I was just like in the middle to just in front of the middle, the reverb would cause a problem. So I knew I had to walk with the tour guide.
They said you asked great questions.
Yeah.
What kind of questions you asked? Give me an example.
Huh?
Can you give me one example?
I asked about I asked what's the difference between a lager tank and a regular tank. And he said a lager tank is horizontal. And the one I was telling you about is lager the only style of beer that has its own tank.
And then he said no.
He said yeah, there's really not a such thing as a tank designed for any other style of beer.
Okay. Where do they make the hummingbird?
The hummingbird? Where? What do you mean?
The hummingbird.
What?
Elf.
Yeah. What about it?
Where do they make it?
In the place I went.
I know that, Joey. How do they make it? What makes beer stay different?
Oh God!
Besides sticking grapefruit peels in.
Different yeast, different hops.
What is hop?
Hops is there's several hops. There's extract, which like a big brewery, like a big brewery, like Modelo or Heineken, they would use hops extract. A mid-sized brewery like Red Oak, they use a pelletized form of it, and they're like pellets, like rabbit food.
Oh, okay, but what is it? A plant?
Yes, it is a flower. I said, because he said it's a pellet. I said, I thought it was a flower. He said, that's a good point. Yeah, it is. Some breweries, like the smaller ones, will use a natural form of it, which is a flower. Mid-sized breweries like us use pellets, and a big brewery like Miller or the beers, the big national beers, they use extract. And you know why they do that?
No.
Cost efficiency and storage.
Okay.
And like how much beer they have to make.
I guess I need to go. How about do they not use other cereal type things?
Well, they only use at Red Oak specifically. They follow to the T the purity laws of Germany. So those laws state that you only use malt, barley, hops, and a very limited number of types of hops, and yeast.
Hops is another plant.
Hops is it's like a flavoring agent. Hops is a huge flavoring agent.
I thought hops was like a wheat plant or something like that.
A what plant?
Wheat.
I know it's a flower, but I don't know if it's like a wheat flower. It's a flower, and they, depending on what type of hops you use, of course, how much of it. They're a malt forward brewing company, and they're different types of tanks too.
Where do they get their water?
The water?
Yeah.
Dan, I didn't ask him. He said that's pretty much the only local thing they have is their water. Okay, everything else is imported from Germany.
Wow.
Huh?
I said, wow.
Yeah, they are. I always knew they they were a really authentic place just because going there, but yeah, they really are. And there are different types of tanks, because I was asking them about, like, you know how when we go to places like the Wooden Robot, you weren't with me when I did this, their rooftop area. Me and Miss Night sat up there once.
Yeah.
And when you go up the stairwell, they have these tanks, and these tanks are like wooden tanks. And I said, are those tanks, I asked Jarvis, I said, are those wooden the tanks that feel like they're made of wood, are they real, and do they still use those? He said, yeah, they're real and they still use them, but they're more for a sour beer and stuff like that. So if you want to make a certain style of beer, you might be using a different type of tank or fermentation or something.
Okay, so let's make it simple. We're gonna make one of those stand-up tanks of beer. We put water in it. Okay, what's next? What other ingredients?
That I don't.
You asked about it.
Yeah, but they make it in the brew house. Okay, there's three different parts. There's the brew house, which is the hot part. Like remember we were at Cavendish and we went through the garage.
Yeah.
That's the brew house. Okay, that's the hot part where they get all the stuff. They get the hops pellets and yeast and the malt and barley, and they mash it together, and it's hot as hell, like 100 some odd degrees. And then it gets to the cellar by like pressure valves and pipes and stuff. When I get to the cellar, that's where they do the cold fermentation. And there's.
So they use yeast for fermentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the yeast basically is a living organism, and basically the way it works is it eats all the sugar it wants. And there's something called Play-Doh. And Play-Doh is like how much sugar in it. Like a beer might start out like when it gets from the brew house to the cellar at 12 Play-Doh. Then when it finishes, 3 Play-Doh. Less Play-Doh is better, because beer when it's young ain't fun. Beer's the only young thing that ain't fun.
Now wait a minute, so you don't put all the ingredients at one time. You process certain ingredients and then add them together after they've been fermented.
No, the yeast ferments it.
Right.
It takes about 3 weeks for a beer to mature. It takes like a month for a beer to mature. And obviously, like if they it's very interesting. I always wanted to know. I'm so glad I got to do this. Well, all that gets mashed together in the brew house, and then it goes to the cellar to ferment together. And then it just there's valves and pipes and stuff underground. That's what Allison, the lady I was talking to at the end, the one that brought me out, she helped me fill the tanks because it wasn't a good idea for me to go fill the tanks by myself, because there's pipes and valves and all that shit under them.
Who was that?
Huh?
Who helped you?
Allison. She was one of the one on the tour. She was directly behind me. She was the one that Jarvis and Allison brought me out, where I was gonna go enjoy that beer outside. go off and feel the tanks by myself because they're pipes, valves, all that other shit under them.
Are the tanks hot or cold?
Cold. Very cold.
Okay. So when did you say that this stuff got hot? When it was in the cellar?
The stuff that is hot is in the brew house. That's the very first stage of it.
Okay. Explain the brew house.
The brew house is where they get all the grain and I explained it. Is they get all the grain and the hop pellets and the yeast and stuff and the water and they mash it and they, it's hot and stuff. And then once it gets done there, combining together, then it goes and cold ferments in the cellar. And there are valves and stuff, all the valves under the tanks that made it not a good idea for me to go and touch those, just wander off and touch those by myself. Those feed to the brew house, from the brew house to the cellar, and from the cellar to the packing hall.
Okay. So when are they? It's a cellar, the tank?
The cellar is a room full of tanks. It's like a wine cellar, but for beer, and it's cold.
Okay.
It's cold. It's pretty cold in there. Nice temperature, but it's still cold. But the tanks are freezing cold.
Okay.
I mean, the tanks are... I don't really know what material they're made of. I don't know if they're metal or glass. I didn't do this because I didn't want to mess anything up. If I would have put my fingernails on it and tapped it, I could have told I probably could have discerned what they were made out of, but I didn't do it because, I didn't want to mess anything up. Because you technically weren't supposed to touch things on the tour, but, I said, can I touch the tanks? He said, yes, as long as you're careful touching them. So I, was careful touching them.
Okay.
And they look like beams. Like the vertical one, the regular tank,
Yeah.
they look like beams.
Beams?
Yeah, beams like a support beam.
Oh, okay.
But they're not cylindrical. They're like
So when the beer is done, they turn some of those valves and pour the beer out towards the packaging area.
yeah.
And you see the packaging area.
Yes.
Is it automatic?
Yeah. There's like a bottle filler and stuff, which the bottle filler is what is almost like, I didn't get to touch it, but I'm imagining a bottle filler. The bottle filler is almost like the soap bottle filler we have. Obviously, it's, soap and beer are much different. If I somehow ended up moving to this area, which I don't know why I would move to North Carolina's ass cheeks as a blind person, I probably could operate that bottle filler.
Well, when you get your PhD in chemistry, then you can open a brewery.
Yeah.
And you can pick the job you want to do. And you can pick the job you want to do.
Yeah. I had a dream where I ended up dating this girl who wanted to start a brewery, because guess what I wanted to do?
Start a brewery.
Yeah. So she's like, for some reason she wanted to start a brewery, but she kind of enjoyed desk work. So I said, I literally don't enjoy that. I'll run the production. She says, you're crazy enough where you would be a great inspiration to stand out in Charlotte. And we had our in the end of the dream, we had our brewery. It was on Trade Street. Not downtown, but on 70, between, right after, right by 77 and stuff. Past, almost to Beatty's Ford. That's where it was. And we had a rooftop. And all the Instagram influencers and all the, yes, I have detailed dreams. All the Instagram influencers and all that stuff. It was the most popular spot because you can get because, I mean, you were looking right at the skyline. It looked like you were, the girl I ended up dating in the dream told me, like, it literally looks and feels like you're kissing the skyline. And the streetcar ran right down below us.
Oh, wow.
What?
That's good, son.
That what?
That's good.
Yep. And they were all over the place, and we had this garage where we'd take deliveries and stuff, and we could shoot food trucks up to the roof. They would come in the garage, and we would press the button. It was like an elevator for food trucks.
Oh, wow.
So they come up on the roof. And we can have like 6 of them up there at one time if we wanted to.
Yeah, that's a big place.
Yeah, it was huge, but because, you know, West Trade Street, that part of West Trade Street, I think our address was like 1540 something, which that would have put it over in an area that's kind of overlooked, so you can get big swaths of land. And this girl was connected, so she had the resources to obtain such a large swath of land in an area like that.
Okay.
So we had that, and like, oh my God, I remember one time I was taking STS to work, and our driver was bitching at me. You know why? Because it was full, and you had to go like around and around and around and around looking for parking. And we used to validate parking. If you parked anywhere from Beatty's Ford to 77, parking was so hard to find, we'd validate it. Because it was so hard to find parking, because we were so popular.
So, can I switch the topic for a second?
Sure.
Tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
What time do we need to leave?
Are we going to Roaring Riot?
I'll let you know tonight if I can sign up.
If we're not going to Roaring Riot and we're just going to the stadium, we need to leave about 1:30.
Okay.
Give us
12
plenty.
o'clock game?
Yeah, Daddy, give us time to get the train, get to the stadium, get settled in, get our food. Well, maybe 2, but, you know, leave the house at 1:30 so we can be on the train by, you know, no later than 2, because
Okay.
if we are going to Roaring Riot, it opens it probably opened 3 hours before kickoff. I want at least an hour at the tailgate. You know.
Okay.
So, if it opens 3 hours before kickoff and I want at least an hour, probably take the better part of an hour to get there. So we would need to leave around, well, the game would open, the tailgate would open at 1. I probably want to be there at 2.
Okay, so we need to leave for the get a train around 1. That's what I was trying to figure out. We need a half an hour to get ready. So
Yeah.
12:30. So I need to get me some.
No, we need 15 minutes to go to the train, because the train is like 15 minutes and all that shit.
What am I going to get me some things?
Daddy, honestly, it'd be better to do that on Monday, because Mommy's going to both of those things with us. Tomorrow's the Panthers. I'm insane about the Panthers. I haven't been to a Panthers game for quite a long time. I don't think it would be too good of a day to get sancties.
Hey, but you know what I haven't been getting
What?
here when I get Sankey's? And I miss it warm face.
Well, that's when it's cold out. I tend to move. I cannot guarantee a warm face because I cannot control where I move in my sleep. You know that? I'd rather you get it Monday or it's just me and you.
I already told your mama that she's going to get lobbying for the 30th.
What did she say?
The reason I told her that is because I said, he's already asking me how many Sancties he would take, or if it would make a difference if you came with us. So, you better get ready. He said, why don't you take him? I said, I got to go up there on the 25th.
You know what?
What?
You shouldn't have told her because now she's preparing. Now I got a bigger uphill battle to run. Why would you do me like that?
I wouldn't do you like that. I was just telling her that, you know, what you ought to do is say, don't worry, Rudy, you've been with him up here, you know, and took him to the clubs and stuff. I'll take him to the Oktoberfest. And I do.
One night I can't drive.
Well, your mother can.
Uh-huh. Oh, that'll be good. Say me, you, and Miss Night ought to go. And Steven, if he wants to come. I'd love to bring Miss Night up here. Because you know what I love?
What?
Red Oak. I love you, Mommy, but you know who I really love spending time with? Huh? Miss Night. You know why?
Why?
Because it's not a question of what we get into. It's a question of what we don't get into.
Well, next to Ruben, too. Maybe if God is good to me, Misty will come home.
Huh?
Misty will come home for good in April, and then we can take that cruise.
Yep. You know what?
What?
We didn't have King Dog to take care of. I told Miss Night, I said, well, damn, we ought to take off to Raleigh for a weekend. And we can even go see Steven in New York. And she's like, I'm down with that.
Why is Steven going back to Brooklyn?
I guess because he likes it.
Is he taking NASCAR?
Yeah. I don't know how he's going to do that because NASCAR is a very energetic dog.
How far?
Huh?
So your daddy farted.
NASCAR, if you see there's a dog in the neighborhood that kind of has a thing for her. Kind of has a crush on her. And she senses it and she likes the attention. So if she sees that dog, Steven and Miss Night and you and me could be with her, she'd get up and run like a bullet to the fence to look at that dog.
Yeah, there's an expression for that.
What?
A bitch in heat.
Yep. I don't know if she's technically in heat because I don't know if she's been spayed or not. But she definitely loves that dog. And she is a cutie. Remember when we went there and we had the van and NASCAR wanted to go for a ride, so she got in the van and sat between me and the other seat? Oh, she's so adorable. She'll sit on my lap. She'll want to go for a ride and sit on my lap. I wish my dog would be that nice to me.
Your poor dog is so old.
I know.
He's just,
I was kind of low on his priority list somewhat early on.
yeah, but your poor dog is, I mean, if you see him go down the steps, it's best that you don't see him go down the steps. It would hurt you.
See, that's the type of shit that makes me glad I can't see.
Poor guy.
Huh?
I said, the poor guy.
Yeah. He could barely go down the steps.
Yeah.
I mean, but it could be doing worse, you know. You got arthritis, but you enjoy any walk I want to do because you're with me and I want to do it. Why?
Because I love you more than I can express. Give my regards to Santi.
We're somewhere within the Charlotte Metro viewing area. Like the viewing area for Channel 9 and stuff like that, because they only went over the river. Aren't we, Daddy?
What?
We're somewhere where they get Charlotte TV channels, because we're over the river.
Yeah, we're in Salisbury.
Yeah.
Regards to.
When we have the tournament, the mini golf tournament, I'd love to check out this brewery in Salisbury called New Sarum Brewery that has some sort of partnership with the Panthers.
You know something, dude?
I think we can make that happen because we would be in Salisbury already, right?
We're in Salisbury now.
I know, but for the golf tournament, the putt-putt tournament, it takes place in Salisbury. If we're gonna be in Salisbury, and I want to go to a brewery in downtown Salisbury, what is the practical thing to do after the golf tournament finishes?
Go to the brewery.
Yep.
I'm afraid that's a word everybody would like to hear.
What?
Practical.
Well, you know what? Sometimes they're two words that sometimes you're gonna have to tell people. Eat shit. And you drive. That way you could tell her I'm driving. Oh, there's a Harley. Damn it, the window's locked. Why you lock the window?
I'm sorry, Joey. Because I was trying to walk in.
You're trying to what?
I was trying to put it down or something, and I hit the wrong button.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
accidental. I would not do that. You know that when I see something making
nice outside.
Another fire.
Yeah, there's at least one person that knows what Red Oak is. Well, there might be more because there's some that are that when they were bitching and carrying on and stuff. That I would tell you, you need to have you some Red Oak.
I know what we're doing this weekend. What's going on the following Saturday, Joe?
Huh?
What's going on the next weekend, Joe?
Well, John G's. I really want to go. I've been wanting to go. And being that it's just under 40 minutes away, and we can't really depend on customers to want to be able to meet the one day a week that it's open, we might just have to go, just to go. You know?
I think the council might want to know.
I tried to get her to go and ask about that, and she thinks I'm joking. She probably wants some food for the weekend.
Well, next week she's got a problem
Why?
because her siblings are all out of town. So she's got family duty,
Yeah.
rightfully so.
Yep. And she's gonna be gone. And me and you got shit planned.
Yep.
Guess where we're going the Monday when she leaves?
Where?
Well, me and her. Well, us and her will both be going to the same state.
Oh, we're going down to Musselman area.
Yep. And we're gonna eat us some subs. And we're gonna get Diablo subs to take home for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And my buddies are gonna love what's gonna happen on Friday. You know why?
Why?
Guess why?
We're going to eat with them.
Huh?
We're going to eat with them.
Yep. And by the way, they were so appreciative and stuff when we brought them food.
Yeah.
They were very appreciative of it. And we're gonna do that, and then I know we'll have Roaring Riot by then, so I'll probably take STS there. I guess where we're gonna go after Roaring Riot, or after the Panthers game.
The club.
Yep.
Oh,
Coffee and Ritalin night.
Yep.
And sometime before the Panthers game, when Mommy's gone, I want to go get me a new phone. So my phone got phone dementia for sure.